What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the biggest week 2 games. We're going to be talking about the Florida loss all the way to the granddaddy of them all this weekend, OU Michigan. Starting off in today's video, we're going to be talking about my bad looks of the week. I don't think there's anywhere else to start other than with Florida. With how much momentum they had coming into this year after finishing last year strong with Billy Napier and with DJ Lagway, this was an unacceptable loss. Way too many mental errors that killed them, which isn't a team like Florida should be losing to. They shouldn't be beating themselves in football games like this. This is not SEC football. This is non-conference play against a very inferior team, and you lost. You let them look like the much better team with all your mental errors. It just wasn't acceptable. I think that this loss is what's going to cost Billy Napier his job, and the only reason he had the job to begin with is because DJ Lagway is that good of a quarterback. But I don't know if he's good enough to outweigh the downfall that Billy Napier brings his football team. Next up, I think I'm going to talk about Clemson as a bad look of the week. They did not look good against a very inferior Troy team. They didn't look great. They can't run the football to save their lives right now. They looked horrible against LSU. They didn't look good this time. And Cade Klubnik is not living up to the Heisman hopeful that he began the season with. At the beginning of the season, he was one of the front runners in Vegas in odds to win the Heisman, and he just hasn't been anywhere near that yet this year. I think if you're a Clemson fan, you bring back all this production, but for what if you can't use the production? Right now, they're not using the offensive line, and they're not using that quarterback to have a very great football team. Against a Georgia Tech team next week that's going to be hungry to win, I think this Clemson team can run into some big struggles this year. Next up for my bad looks of the week, I got to go with Kansas State. This team has not been what they were supposed to be at the beginning of the year. Started the season ranked, had a great fight against Iowa State, who looks fantastic so far this season. That was good, but then you at home almost lose to North Dakota, an FCS team, far worse football team, and you barely win on a last-minute touchdown. And then you come back home and you lose to an Army team who lost to an FCS school last week in Tarleton State. In Manhattan, it's just not an acceptable season this year. It's not great. It's looking bad. A lot of people had them as their Big 12 champions, which had them in the playoffs, and right now they're not a playoff team. They're not anywhere near a playoff team. Sticking with the Big 12 theme of Kansas State, I think my next bad beat of the week has to be Oklahoma State. As an FBS team, you should never lose to another Power 4 school 69-3. It should never happen. It's an unacceptable loss. I don't care how many millions of dollars Oregon spent. You should never lose 69-3. They didn't spend that many millions more than you. Mike Gundy's tenure has to be coming to an end at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State wants excellence in football. They're not going to just live with mediocre year after year. After winning just 3 games last season, 0 conference play games, if Mike Gundy has another year similar, I don't think he's still coaching the following season. If it looks this bad, I'm not sure he makes it at the end of this season still the head coach of Oklahoma State. Next up, I want to talk about my good looks of the week, and I don't think there's anywhere else to start than with Missouri. They looked great against Kansas. They came out struggling that first quarter, allowed 21 points, one off a fumble recovery for a touchdown. After that, the defensive adjustments they made held Kansas to 10 points the rest of the football game. They made great defensive adjustments, and if they can play like that, they're going to be serious SEC contenders this year. If Prebula can play the way he did against Kansas, they will be a serious problem in the SEC this year. That win got them ranked this year at 24. If Prebula can use his arm the way that he did and be able to use his legs the way he does, he is a very, very good quarterback that can lead this team to bigger places than Brady Cook did, and that's saying a lot to Missouri. Next up on my great looks of the week, I'm going to go with Mississippi State versus Arizona State. Mississippi State wins the game on a 58-yard passing touchdown with less than 40 seconds left. What an electric way to do it with all the cowbells ringing. Beautiful atmosphere, beautiful game. They have to fix the run defense if they want to be good in the SEC this year. Allowing over 250 rushing yards, the run defense is not going to be acceptable. They have to be better than they were. Sam Leavitt is going to have to look better too. He was a guy that a lot of people also had in their Heisman frontrunner, along with Cade Klubnik, who looked very underwhelming to start the year. He's just going to have to be better. He only completed 10 passes and didn't have very many passing yards at all in that game. That's not going to cut it at Arizona State. After what they did last year, he has to be better. Another team that I thought looked really good was Iowa State. They didn't look great, but they did the dirty work they had to do to beat Iowa. It sounds dumb, but in my opinion, beating an Iowa team that's that gritty and that dirty and in the trenches game really shows me that Iowa State can be a true contender this year in the Big 12. We know they have the quarterback and the receivers to make it work in the air. Can they control the line of scrimmage? Can they win the rushing game to do the dirty work? And they did that against Iowa, a team that's going to run the same boring, boo-hoo offense they run every year. They're going to run the football, throw the ball 15 times, and make it difficult on the quarterback. Iowa State was able to contain that. And that looks good to me because that means that they can contain and work with any team in the Big 12. I think Iowa State is the Big 12 representative in the college football playoffs this season. On the SEC trail, we're going to talk about Ole Miss versus Kentucky. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin finally got over the kryptonite that was Kentucky. For some reason, it was his kryptonite. I don't get it, but they finally got over the bump. They have a true bell cow running back in Lacey. He ran for over 130 yards this game. He looked great. On the other hand, Austin Simmons has to be better with the turnovers. He has 2 games so far in the season, 2 turnovers in each game. In SEC play, that's just not going to cut it. He's going to have to cut down the turnovers. Other than that, he looks fantastic as the future after Jackson Dart. Finally, the game of the day I've been waiting and wanting to film this video for, the Blue Blood Battle, Oklahoma, Michigan. What a game on Saturday night on a slate that wasn't the best, but that game made up for it. As an Oklahoma fan, I loved watching it. I love watching how physical these two teams were. I love watching how much we learned about these two teams. I'm going to have to give my props to Bryce Underwood. The kid, he didn't look rattled at all in this game. He looked poised. He was in control of that offense. They didn't let him throw the ball a ton. They didn't let him run, but that didn't matter because he looked poised and confident. I'm glad we didn't face this team at the end of the year because I don't know if we win that football game. Bryce Underwood is going to be a great college quarterback. I think next year he's going to be a Heisman front runner. On the flip side of that, though, let's look at Oklahoma. John Mateer. That's all I got to say. John freaking Mateer. We spent the money to go get John Mateer at a quarterback after last year of Jackson Arnold. This game showed everyone why it was worth it. We had fans questioning, is he really going to be that good? The media was questioning, does he have what it takes after playing at a smaller school? The answer is yes. If you watch that game, you know this kid is the real thing. He is probably, in my opinion, the Heisman frontrunner at this point of the season. I don't know if he stays there, but at this point, he is that front runner. Using his legs, he looked Baker-esque with his running game. He had 2 crazy plays breaking sacks. One of them, he threw after breaking the sack to Satania down the sideline to about the 14-yard line. That was just an electric play, especially on 3rd down. Perfectly dialed blitz. Mateer gets out of it. That's what frustrates and wears down a defense is when the quarterback can make plays that says, whatever you did, it doesn't matter because I'm better. John Mateer showed, I'm better. I'm the best player on this football field. Next up, let's talk about these defenses. Oklahoma's defense was dominant. We only gave up 13 points in this football game. 6 of those were straight up gifted to Michigan. One of them off of a muffed punt. Our defense, 3 and out, 6 total yards, force a field goal. There's 3 points. The other 3, the defense forced them back, 10-yard line, make them punt. Stupid penalties. Way too many mental mistakes in this football game. We gave them a first down. Next play, we get a defensive holding, which in the trenches, I don't know how a defensive lineman gets a holding call, but love the Big Ten referees, right? Now we put them on the 40-yard line plus territory. This was the one drive where they could get about a 30 to 35-yard drive sustained, and it got them a field goal. That was the one time our defense truly broke. And then the other 7 points they scored was on one 75-yard touchdown. I'm not saying that touchdown wasn't great, but they didn't sustain a drive. They had one breakaway play because we had a freshman cornerback who missed his read. Justice Haynes looked great in this game. He had that one great breakaway run. He's a true home run hitter. But this Oklahoma defensive line contained the trenches all game. We made life difficult on Bryce Underwood. We made life difficult on Justice Haynes in the run game. It was a great defense. The one thing I did not love from Oklahoma and that I think we can really improve on was the mental mistakes and special teams. We had a missed field goal from Tate Sandell, who there was a lot of talk about how great he was coming out of camp. Can't miss those chip shot field goals like that. And we had way too many mental errors. We had 2 roughing the kicker penalties. You can't give teams like that drives. Right now, because of how young their quarterback was, it worked. But later in the season, that's the stuff that's going to bite you in the butt and cost you to lose football games. Which I really think has been one of Brent Venables' biggest kryptonites was containing the mental errors and the mental mistakes. So I think if we fix those, it's great. I think another one of Brent Venables' mental errors as a coach was his controlling of the clock and controlling of the game. Today, we controlled this football game. From start to finish, we were the team that was controlling this football game. Michigan was just tagging along, playing. We controlled the game. What really showed me that was we led an 8-minute sustained drive down the field. We only gave them the ball back with about a minute and a half left to go, up by 11. That's the stuff that we weren't seeing in the last few years with Seth Lichell, Jeff Lebby. We didn't see those offenses do that. That was great to see. Next up, I want to talk about, though, how both these teams can rebound. Oklahoma, we don't need to rebound. Right now, we're on our high horse. I just don't think that we can get too high because we do have a tough schedule ahead, an extremely tough schedule. If you let this game get to your head, we can easily lose way more games than we need to be losing. I think that will be fine as we take on Temple next week, and then we get Auburn. I think those are 2 key games. Temple, easy. Auburn, we'll get to that later. For Michigan, I think Michigan has a great chance to rebound. They have an extremely favorable Big Ten schedule, with their only ranked opponent right now being Ohio State in the final week of their season. The only quality opponent they have that I believe is Washington, who I think will be ranked when they play. But as of right now, they only have 1 ranked game. If Bryce Underwood can get comfortable against these inferior teams and worse Big Ten teams, I think by the time the game comes around, it's going to be a true dogfight in that football game. That's all I have for today's video. Thank you all for tuning in, and make sure to check back tomorrow for our next video, as we're going to be previewing the big games for the following week. We're going to be talking about Georgia versus Tennessee, LSU versus Florida, and Georgia Tech versus Clemson. Those are just 3 big games we're going to be talking about. There'll be much more. Make sure to tune back in. Boomer.